Good morning, potato chips. How you doing? It's wee Paddy from across the shuck, and I don't know how this video is going to go down. In fact, I'm not even sure how it's going to finish, or whether it's going to be something that's of interest of anybody. But you'll see by the title, "Blue Collar YouTube Creator: Is it possible?" Question mark. And I would love your answers after you've listened to this. Give me your answers and the solutions maybe that you would think of that could help anybody who's starting out. I've been very fortunate. I've been doing this for just under 5 years. I've managed to hit 10,000 subs, which is amazing. Never thought I would get anywhere near that. I remember getting to 1,000 thinking I'm on top of the world. 1,000 people are, watching stuff that I'm creating. I've never done something like that before and got a following. So that is brilliant. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a blue collar person. I've always had blue collar jobs. I've always had enough money to get by and usually a little bit extra to spend on hobbies. Now, my mother used to say there was a wee want in me because no matter what I started, I had to go overboard on it. I had to spend more than I really should have on it. Not getting into debt necessarily, but just going to that limit of buying the best equipment. I played golf. I played to about between a 3 and 4 handicap for the last lot of years that I played it. And I spent a fortune on golf clubs. All my spare money went on it. Getting the newest trend, getting the newest driver, getting the best putter. So I've done this all my life with every kind of hobby or sport that I've got into. And then I came into the YouTube community. It was a time in my life where I was suffering from depression. I was just coming out that side where I could see a bit of light. And I started finding out about knives. I come from a country, the UK, where knife laws are crazy. Knives are looked down upon. They scare people. They're not something you talk about openly or show openly, even if they are slip joints, because it scares people. Crazy, I know, but it does. But I found knives and I found out that I could get knives that had locks and you could flick them open. I found, Spyderco, just these super knives that you could use. Now, I found it very hard to afford them on the spare cash that I had. So I started off with Ganzos. They were copies as such. This is the best PM2 I've ever had, although it's a Ganzo and they make no bones. They claim it as a Ganzo. It has an axis lock, and I prefer the axis lock to the back lock. But the abuse I used to get for buying Ganzos, they're Chinese rubbish. Don't buy that crap. And it was all false because they're some of the best knives, and I still have probably half a dozen, maybe 7 or 8 Ganzos that I kept from that part of my collection because they're just flipping good knives. So I've kept them, and this to me honestly is better than a PM2 because you can buy these if you can find this model, but you can buy other Ganzos that have the axis lock and all. Never had one fail on me. I've had 3 Benchmades that have failed on me, so I'll just put that out there. Not that I think Benchmade's bad. I love Benchmade. But so when you first come around and you're a blue collar, you're starting with budget knives most of the time. And it feels as if you're in a real minority of people that are looking at and using budget knives because YouTube now, 5 years on from when I started, YouTube now is just full of people who have budgets that are bigger than mine. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's not one thing wrong with that whatsoever, but it's not my life. So I have all the high-end knives that I bought, most of them I've moved on, and I've directed my hobby, and it wasn't just a financial thing. I started getting into slip joints, and then I started realizing, bloody hell, I like slip joints. I don't need a lock for most of the things I do in a day. So I've got knives all over the place that will do any task that a locking knife's needed to do. Most of them are not that modern anymore, although I have a hinderer, but this is a slip joint. So I have high-end knives still left in my in my possession that some of them will never go because I don't need a PM2. That's as good as any PM2. It's 440C, lasts forever. Doesn't really, not forever, but I like sharpening, so it doesn't really matter. The PM3, if you've got a medium to large hand, this is absolutely perfect. So perfect that I don't collect any other Spydercos anymore because that's, I've got what I need of locking knives. The trend in YouTube that I see is that a lot of people are doing it for, they're making a living out of it. And that is absolutely super. Making a living out of something you love doing. I would have loved to have been a professional golfer. Didn't happen, but I would have loved to have been. But what I'm trying to say is you don't need to have a huge amount of money to have a successful YouTube channel because, believe it or not, nearly all my budget end knife reviews get more reviews than the higher end ones. And that is just a truth. That is just a simple truth. You stick a Ganzo up on YouTube on my channel, you'll probably find there'll be more people watch it than anything else. You stick a knockoff knife. This is one from AliExpress. I got this recently because I don't have a Benchmade bug out anymore. I got rid of it because I wasn't using it. No real need for it. But it is a great knife to show for size comparisons. Whether you're using fixed blades or not, there's a fixed blade down there. I can show this as a size. I don't care. I don't care what people think. I'm not spending, £140 on a knife I'm not going to use. So I paid £9.50 delivered from AliExpress. So I can have that. And I've now got the main ones, I've got that if I want the PM2. I've got that for the Benchmade. I've got the Spyderco Para 3. And I have this. They're probably, some of the most popular knives on YouTube. Do I need these bigger knives? No, not since I got this. There's 3.5 inches of a blade that is absolutely, I'll just get that up. I'll show you how thin that is, if you can possibly see it. That is so thin behind the edge that I would put this up against most every other knife out there, whether it be locking or anything. It is beautifully ground, and I mean beautifully. 3.5 inches of non-locking blade, but it's a good stiff detent. Will do, and there's 2 blades on this. It's a trapper. There's 2 blades on it. So I don't need the modern knives as much as I thought I did when I first came around. The titanium and M390 20CV and above blades, I don't need in my everyday life. Do I like having some around? Yes. 20CV, M390, 30CV. 30CV. And just D2. All these here are in 1095. And they cut better than most of the ones I just pointed out because they're ground so thinly and they're so easy to sharpen. It's a joy to use them in your daily use and then give them a little strop up. Or it's such a nice routine to have these and having to wait till these go, you just do have to sharpen them. And are they pleasurable if you like sharpen? Yes, they are. But an awful lot of people don't like sharpening. You can strop these back at the end of a day, and you usually get them back to near enough the sharpness you started with. And you sharpen them probably, well, in my life, because of so many of them, I probably sharpen less when I'm doing my traditional carry than I did when I done these. So, I don't know whether I said, yeah, my mum said it was, don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't buy. And let me tell you, the budget knives and the budget, like Rough Riders, I mean, this is a high-end Rough Rider, but this is one of the best knives for the money in the world, I think, if you like slip joints. It's £50. It is a beautiful Wharncliffe blade. They do other shapes in this, the one-armed, but this in D2 is an absolutely stunning knife. Stunning knife. So well made. And there's the other thing. This craze for titanium, I don't know what it is. It's probably the most bland material you could ever get. It's just grey. Now, I know you can get them anodized and that, but you're adding to the price of the knife. And if you want to go up to these Damasteels and all that, you're adding to the price. And how many of them can you carry in one day? And there's the thing. But having choice is nice. I'm having a choice on knives. Like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 knives there. Cost me about the same as this one knife. And yet these are in 10.95. This is one of my newest acquisitions. Look at that for a knife. It's beautiful bone that has been dyed and not flattened. The surfaces are not all flat. They're lumpy. Look at the beautiful bolster. Beautiful clip point blade, about 2.5 inches long. This is a genuine work knife for me, for anything I'd want. This is in 440C. Why did a company that's so successful as GEC pick a blade steel like 440C to put on their higher end knives? Do you want to know the simple truth is? Because these knives are made to use. They're made to use. 440C stainless steel is fantastic. It sharpens easy and it holds an edge for a reasonably long time. This will do me my day no matter where I go. And the geometry of a blade that's a traditional is so thin behind the edge, it slips through anything. And this knife is strong enough to break zip ties, to do anything like that. It will do it. And 10.95 is a very tough steel. A very tough steel. But I can get things like this in colour. And in a country where knives scare people, if I pull this out of my pocket, is that going to scare you really? The answer is no. And if you're going somewhere where you think you might have your knife out, and to have something like this, it's just acrylic. Just acrylic. It's not an over-expensive knife. I mean, all these GECs here, the most expensive GEC you're going to buy is probably a Northwoods, which you're going to spend £200 plus on. I have one. I don't need any more, but I've got one, and I needed to have that in my collection. That's my high-end knife. But when you're talking about titanium knives now, you're talking £400 or £500 for the high-end ones. And I see so many people have them on their channels. And I'm thinking, well, it's great for them, but if they're struggling to keep up with that, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when it's like any addiction. If you're spending more than you have on your hobby, that is an addiction. And that's something you want to break. So even if I had got to the stage where I had box loads of cheap knives, and I loved them all. There was nothing wrong with them. I still have a lot of them like this. About £15 to buy now if you can get them. But I started to chase what I seen on YouTube, and that was higher end knives. They must have steels. They must have. Do you want to know? It's been a relief this last year, 6 months to a year, when I've stopped having to chase that price range. Because at that price range, I can maybe only buy a knife once every 2 months at that price. I couldn't afford it. And that's a pretty good budget for a lot of people. So although I'm saying blue collar, I'm not poor. I've never been poor. I've always managed to get enough money to get by, bring up a family. I'm 62 now, 63 in a month. I've brought up a family. They're married with kids now. Have they all had wonderful lives? But, there's lots of things they would have wanted. There's lots of things I would have wanted to give them. But that's life. Do you know what I mean? That is life. They're all good. They're up working. They're going ahead with their lives. So as a family, yeah, they're doing okay, as every family does. But this is why I think I entitled this Blue Collar, because I want more people who are sitting out there watching videos and commenting. I have an awful lot of people comment and they tell me what knives they have, and I think, why haven't you got a YouTube channel? I would love to see them knives. So the more blue collar, and I'm using this as a really wide term, if you're on a budget that only allows you to buy Rough Rider knives, get them on the channel and start a channel on your Rough Rider knives. I'll watch it. And I know there's lots of people out there that will watch them. At the moment, we have a new influx of young blood that are into the budget knives, and they're not moving too far from them at the minute. To be honest, after a while in YouTube, you will. I mean, that's something to keep in your mind. You will move, and there's nothing wrong with that either. You'll save up and you'll buy something a bit nicer. You'll go from Rough Rider to Case to GEC, and you can go on to customs like I done last year. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just not going to do it, because to me, I've found out that my limit for a locking or a non-locking knife is about 200. I can get beautiful knives at that price. Now, that's not cheap, but it's cheaper than 450, 500, 600 that I see in an awful lot of channels. And look, I am not knocking these channels. I watch them too. I enjoy watching people who enjoy knives. I just enjoy that buzz because it's what I like. And now I've built up a collection of GECs and other knives that I love in that slip joint genre. I only bought this about 2 weeks ago, so I'm still buying my Rough Rider knives because they're good. Titanium knives. Do I need titanium? We can't carry any locking knives over here. So one of our local Scottish designers, Dean Pearson, or Carl Pearson, got this made for UK legal. It's a flipper. They're still legal here. It probably won't last for long. But look at that. That's titanium M390. Perfect. Absolute. But it's a slip joint. But look, is that not just sexy? I've shown this before. I'll do a full review. It's such a sexy knife. Can I get this anodized? Yes, and I probably will, because I like Carl, and this knife will stay in my collection. It's a slip joint that has all the features of a modern titanium knife. Is this going to cut less than all them other ones? No, it's just going to cut things. It's just going to cut things. So I think that's where blue collar, you need to keep it in mind. You're collecting all this stuff. Make sure you buy stuff you're going to actually need to use, or you can sharpen. Why buy a knife that you're going to have to give to somebody else to sharpen? Learn to sharpen. And that's another huge part of this community, is learning how to sharpen. Please, 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 there's no excuses out there. That new work sharp costs £50. You get 3 stones. It will do every knife in your collection absolutely fine. And it is so basic. I'm going to do a sharpening video with it. I'm going to sharpen one of my knives, one of my new knives that I've got. I'll probably do a GEC, one of my new GECs that I want to put a new edge on. And I'll do it in that work sharp. And I'll show you just how easy sharpening can be. I love sharpening by hand as well, so I'm doubly lucky. But I don't know whether this makes sense. I just want more people to come into the community that are not chasing that big buck knife. Do you know what I mean? Because I am getting so much pleasure. I hear these things, oh, well, like, I wouldn't go below D2 as a steel. And I hear this all the time. I'll never go between or below, God, I can't get my words out. I'll never go below D2 steel. Well, you're just missing out on so many knives. That is my answer to that. You're missing out on so many knives. But what I also hear, which confuses so many people, is I'll never go below D2 steel. But you need a buck 110 in your collection just for the hell of it. Buck 110 is 440 steel. Do you know what I mean? That's below D2. So they always, people can make exceptions. Oh, well, I like a GEC though, 1095, cheap carbon steel. So don't take what everybody says out there as genuine. No, I don't mean they're trying to be dishonest. I don't mean that whatsoever. But this, like every other hobby, is confusion for people who don't know. When somebody will tell you, oh, you need to be minimum 30 CV. S30V, sorry. I said that before, didn't I? S30V. The minimum you need is S30V. It's a powdered steel. Don't go below that whatsoever. What a lot of rubbish. That is a lot of rubbish. I mean, how many people that are into this knife collecting game have manual jobs where they're going to use their pocket knives, their prized ones, to do hard graft? Very, very few. In my experience, in 5 years around YouTube. You'll take your cheap Ganzo out. You'll take, your Ganzo, your Rough Rider, and use it. And the reason you're doing it is because it works and it's easy to sharpen. So, You know, get your mind straight. What do you want to be? Do you want to be a collector of knives, or do you want to be a collector of high-end knives? Because starting off with these ones and things from AliExpress, you do want to progress. You think, well, if that's good, I wonder what this is like. Is this as good as this? And the answer, yes. And if you're going to stand and cut all day long, this will outcut this. But if you're just a normal user of knives, this will do you all day, this will do you all day, and this sharpens back with a strop or just a quick rub on a stick. Do you know what I mean? So be careful where you're going. And I'm doing that. I'm sort of making this video for people who like traditional knives. Don't feel as if you have to follow into this. Yes, by all means, get one or two, buy them secondhand. Do not put full price for them. Because if you like your traditionals, the chances are you'll move up from Rough Riders to Case to GEC. You're not going to keep buying these. Being a blue-collar worker, and I'm using that word so loosely, is that you don't have that money. Don't chase the knives that other people who have the money, and more power to them, because 99% of them have worked hard for that money and they should be able to buy whatever they want. But if the Rough Riders what you can afford and a £500 Sebenza is what they can afford, you just have to let that go. Because chasing that, I've been there, I've chased it, I got the Sebenza, I've sold it now. It's a beautiful knife. Beautiful knife, and I used mine. And I used it a lot because it's a really good knife. But this here, here's another beautiful knife, a two-bladed knife, 35 pattern Churchill, Lissamere and Groff. What a stunning knife. What a stunning knife. This will do everything my Sebenza done. Probably thinner behind the edge than my Sebenza was. And beautiful. I get two blades. I get another big pen blade in this as well. So try not to fall into that trap of chasing high-end knives. They are good. There's no doubt they're good. But are they much better than these knives? To be honest with you, no. They just cut things. Keep that thing in your head. It just cut things. Now, for those of you who have money to buy the big end, keep doing it, because I love watching your videos. This is not a slur on anybody. For those who can't afford GEC and Case, keep buying your Rough Riders. But make a video channel. Make a YouTube channel. You don't have to be good. You learn how to talk drivel eventually. But I'm not judging people on their orating skills. I just want to see their knives, and I want to see the pleasure it gives them. And when somebody learns to sharpen a knife for the first time, that gives me so much pleasure. What else have I got to talk about? Here's another wee thing that I would love to start for the more from budget up to sort of maybe high-end GEC users. I would love somebody who has the technical ability to do Zoom call. I would love to do a once a month thing where we get 4 people, we pick a Rough Rider, we pick whatever the 4 people have got between them, they'll pick a knife, budget or slip joint or locking knives. A knife that 4 people will have, and it can change every month, and go on and review that knife. I just want to see more budget end knives being done like that. There's plenty of video channels out there that are doing the higher end knives and how they work and whatever. Let's do it with our budget knives. I don't have the technical ability. I'm saying it out there. But if somebody would love to do something like that, where once a month 4 people get together and they all share, they all have to have the same knife. They do cut tests. They let people know what they're like to sharpen. What the knife's like, is it worth buying, is it not? They give their review on it. And I just believe it'll bring more of us in together and give one slip joints the shout out they deserve, because they are fantastic. But 2, it just brings us together more as a community. We have companies out there that send these budget knives around, and they go on a circuit around America. Because the companies very rarely give them to us over here in the UK or Europe. It's, that's mostly America. But I want people from the UK, from the States, from Australia, from Canada to join in. If you like the more budget and the slip joint knives, budget and slip joint job together, because you can get really good budget knives that are fantastic. Fantastic. So, what do you think of that? Has anybody out there got the ability to do like a Zoom video once a month? You get 4 people, arrange a time. I know somebody like me, I'm retired, I'm at home every night, so it doesn't matter whether it's in the middle of the night, if you're from America, whoever decides to do it, I will fit around your times, because I don't have any ties that way. I can stay up all night if I want. What do you think of it? I would love to hear your opinions down below. For those of you out there that have a collection of 20, 30 knives, why not start a YouTube channel? Well, just start it. Get involved. Find other YouTube channels that you like. Get involved with them. Ask them questions. Let them guide you through the pitfalls of being a YouTube creator, because I see so many coming into this, and after a year or 2 years, they're burnt out because they've been chasing knives that are out of their price range. And that's sad. That's sad, because we're losing people who were genuine knife lovers, but you get sucked in like every hobby. You can get sucked in. I'm glad I'm coming back down again. I've had my high-end knives, still have. That's £300 worth of knife. But I've had much more expensive. I haven't got them anymore because I wasn't using them as much as I'll use this, or this. Or this. This is my package opener now. And I haven't had to sharpen it, and I've had it about a month. Crap steel, I know, but sure, haven't had to sharpen it. Right, I'm away. I've probably caused enough controversy now with a lot of people. I hope I haven't. That was not my thing. But I would love somebody that's into slip joints or budget knives that can do a Zoom call, who could set it up so that we can all join in once a month. And I don't know how many you can have in a Zoom call, but I would say 4 or 5 probably enough to get through an hour of blether about a knife that you reviewed that week. Let me know what you think. Paddy's away for a wee cup of tea. Thank you so much for listening to my old drivel. Bye now.